Hello, everyone, and welcome to the monthly tarot reading for October 2021. Before I start with my tarot reading, I want to talk a little bit about the numerological values that we are sitting at right now. We are at a 9 moving to a 1. What that means is that we are having this overwhelming intestinal move to close things down and start things up. It's kind of the harvest season October is, as well as the numerological harvest season. So there's this drive to move on to our next great adventure. Here's the fun part. In the first week of this month, we are in the middle of a retrograde, which means that we shouldn't be making any major moves. We shouldn't be doing anything at all. So in true harvest spirit, it's kind of interesting. We leave Mabun and we go into Samahan. We're approaching Samahan. We need to remember that the first part of October is designed for us to make strategies and plans while we're in retrograde, because we have that great gift of having Mercury traveling backwards and having all safeties off with communications and thought processes. That means that we are free to do anything that our whimsical little mind gives us. That's why we find ourselves falling back together with exes. We find ourselves reevaluating all of our life choices, why we want to shave our heads bald and bark at the moon. So, for the first 2 weeks of this month, consider to yourself the time to prep and plan. And the last 2 weeks of this month, consider it to be the time when you can harvest and you can plan your new adventure and put it into action. It's a great balance. That being said, I'm going to shuffle one more time. We're going to do a Wheel of Fortune spread, and let's see what the great month of October has in store for us. Hanged Man. Let's get started. Excellent. Let's go through this. So the whole entire month of October for us is through the lens of the Hanged Man. Now the Hanged Man card has a lot of deep, rich meanings to it, but essentially for this reading and for the month of October, it's all about reflecting internally. It's about seeking out that transcendence that resides within all of us that we can get through hard work, through meditation, through reading shadow work. We can unlock great spiritual powers if we just take the time to sit back, let certain aspects of our lives die, the negative ones, and focus on that rebirth and transcendence. Very good card to get for this month. So for the first week, we're seeing a lot of childhood energy being presented with our good old Six of Cups. Now, with this childhood energy, it's kind of like kids playing in a garden. It also refers to our inner child and to the innocence that we have, and that is inverted. We feel like we have been robbed. Somebody put our inner child in a cage. Our happiness is locked away for the time being, and that's because of retrograde and being put in that soul sleep, that soul cairn, where we are going to figure out certain elements of ourselves through thought and through shadow work. Week 1 should be all about the shadow work and figuring out what's the good feed for us. It's followed by the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands, it's the birder's cage, where we're sitting there and we release our messages out to the universe to try and get a bracket on what we need to work on, what we need to prepare for. We've had the birth of our energies in the Two of Wands for our passions and our development. And right now we're just checking to see how the progress is going. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that in the first week of October. We're still sitting in that retrograde. We're not making any major moves. We're just planning, analyzing, and making thoughts. Now, the second week in October, we have a change. So day 1, second week, October, be prepared for something to end. With that ending is going to come a new rebirth. With that rebirth comes forward movement and momentum. Death isn't a bad thing. Death is the natural order of things. Kings die and new ones are reappointed, as we see on this card. The Rosicrucian cross is tongue-tied, symbolosis of the Lutheran faith coming into Pax, or into the Holy Roman Empire. We see one very interesting German scholar totally change the whole governance system of Germany with the change of one small book, and that caused so much change, end, and rebirth. So, week number 2, let the death happen. Look at the death, analyze the death. We can move forward from the death, because that death is going to bring us a brand new thought in our living space. So our homes, our jobs, everything that we have. But we're going to be resisting that. It's going to be a giant resistance of this movement, which is going to start pulling people into their homes, into their families, starting to balance out the things that make more sense. Again, this is all about analysis. This is not about action, because if we do action, we're going to fall flat on our faces. That death is something that's unavoidable. Let it happen. This cleaving to friends and family is very important for us to do, and it's also personified by Mama of the earth. We have the Empress, which is the earthly energies of mom, the nurturing, the feeding, the child rearing. All those energies are represented in this card. She's actually the guardian of the Pentacle suit. So as we start approaching week number 2, and that change occurs, and we're resisting to that movement inward, insular, growing and developing, if we fight that, we're going to be in trouble. Again, week 2, October, go with the flow, let things end, and embrace that energy from the Empress in our home sphere. We start having things move a little bit faster as we get to the second part of the month, which isn't really a big surprise to us. We have a lot of passions popping out. Over here, we had ourselves sending out that message to the universe saying, what is next on the agenda? And here we have that answer. Week number 3, we start off with the victory card, the 6 of Wands. All about victory. We have this passionate victory. We've rode out to battle. We've won. We've conquered. And it's time for us to accept that. Be very, very cautious with your victory, because we have the 9 of Pentacles inverted. We have everything that we could want in week number 3. Things are going to start feeling really good. There's going to be a big feeling of being isolated with that inversion. We're going to have a feeling of winning but not winning, being alone, having everything we want but no one to share it with. If we can master this feeling, then we can also move ourselves into a position emotionally and psychologically in our brain where we can move away from the things that have trapped us. A lot of the times with retrogrades and with the cyclical pattern of numerology and the seasons, we find ourselves learning lessons that we ought to learn. Failure to learn those lessons results in a giant repeat of that cycle. What we have here with the inversion of this and the inversion of that, we have a situation where if we embrace this victory and we can figure out how to be self-reliant while embracing being insular with our families, we're going to move away from these problems that we've actually had from feeling this exclusion and this loneliness. Big opportunity for a lot of people to move forward and to start developing in that way. Self-reliance in a community standing. It's kind of funny if you take a look at community leaders and the way that they move forward. And I'm not talking like community leaders like the elected officials. I'm talking about the individuals who kind of rise up and lead communities to great heights, that victory. You'll notice that they have 2 things in common with all of them that I've noticed. One is that they have mastered this need to please everybody. They have mastered this need to want to please every single person, and they're willing to go out on a limb and be alone if it's the moral right. The other thing we see is that they love and care and want to develop everybody in that group. So that's the possibilities that we have on week number 3. Week number 4, not all good things come without a cost. We have to address some energies that are going to pop up in regards to these conflicts. When the war is over, the war is never over. We see this all the time in our society where soldiers come back and they end up being homeless. People fight their demons for years to come. Shell shock in World War I is a prime example of that, and PTSD in every single war from Vietnam forward, or battle fatigue, many different names for it. It's the same thing. It's those regrets, those problems, the mental anger and anguish that you receive from those conflicts. And a lot of the times they're passion fed. We feed those passions continuously. Again, this lesson that we need to learn in week number 3 that we can move forward from. If we move forward from it, then we can master this card, which is the fast moving energies of a thought process of a conflict. We can get that mastery of it. The only way through that is to fight that night with this night, which is the Knight of Cups. Inward reflection, meditation, spiritual processing. We are finding ourselves in a good place. But that requires that hard work, that claiming that victory and addressing the issues that we're going to see in week 3. So near the end of week 4, we're going to see a lot of movement of intuition and emotion. Not surprising. End of week 4 is the time when the veil is the thinnest, and we're going to have a lot of opportunity to feed a lot of spiritual stuff. But declare that victory inside your own brain by choosing not to buy into the self-lie that you're telling yourself. Ultimately, with this month, we have 2 resolutions here. Usually this is head and heart, but in this case, it's 2 resolutions. They're diametrically opposed, and they're both court cards. You have the choice how October will end. The first choice is an alignment with the Empress, recognizing and addressing this 9 of Wands, and really embracing that 3 of Wands, and combating this pain in the butt right here with the 9 of Wands. So what does that mean? That means that at the end of this month, you can be in a position to grow and feed, help your community, help your heart develop at a level that is great. Learn your lessons that need to be learned on the end of this cycle so that you can plant a very plush field and grow great community. The other option you have is not as nice. It's the King of Swords inverted. And it's the angry form of the king in this situation. It's the conflict, it's the discipline, it's the lack of communication, it's a very disappointed father, which is very interesting because this card here, the Empress, is the guardian card for the Queen of Pentacles. The sword is the Emperor, which is the earthly father. Tactics, strategy, discipline, those sorts of things. A very unhappy father is what we have if we do not abide by things. Someone may ask me in their mind, if that's the case, then why isn't this the Empress and not the Emperor? Well, this is the reason why. The Emperor and the Empress are are major arcana, and these 2 are more of a court card, minor arcana. So this representation here are things that we can choose. If it was the Empress Emperor, then it would be like a conflict inside of yourself. But in this situation, you have the choice of the outcome. And that all begins right here, choosing to have that soul rest, that soul sleep. That also starts here by allowing yourself to put yourself into a position where you can embrace that community and allow that ending to occur gracefully. So the first half of the week is your week of planning, preparation, and execution. I have this intuitive feeling that there's something else I need to add, and so as such, I'm going to do another quick spread. But that is the Wheel of Fortune for this month in October. Let's see if there's something else that'll pop up here. Haha, Wheel of Fortune, yep. There we go. Okay, so now, if everything happens very, very well for us, if we start moving into this positive, great direction where we can start embracing that community, we know exactly how that's going to result in. That's going to result ultimately in kind of like the 10 of Pentacles situation, where everything is going to be complete happiness and it's going to work great for us. What happens if all of a sudden we don't decide to do these things and we find ourselves falling into the position where we just want to watch the world burn? I mean, it's quite possible we could cognitively do that. It's been a very tough year with COVID and with a bunch of stuff. Maybe we'll just We'll let it pass. We won't give a crap. We won't put that work in. That's where the Wheel of Fortune comes in. It's a reminder that if that happens, it's not a permanent situation. You're going to have to deal with it. And if you deal with it properly, then things are going to be good. It's going to start off with a lot of pain that you're going to avoid. You're not going to want to do it. If you do find yourself falling into that pitfall, jump into that pain. The earth is wanting you to know things are going to start building. The air is wanting you to know that it's time for you to start healing, which means you have to embrace that pain. This pain will present itself not because the world sucks, boo-hoo, woe is me, I want to sit in my house and cry and drink chocolate milk and eat a crap ton of Haagen-Dazs. That pain is there as a lesson for you. It's a communication for you to see the things, analyze the things, use your brain, your tactics, and your strategy to apply those things in your life so you can make them better. Page of Passions in the Passion House. New passions will arise because of that pain. It is your job to grab them and move with them. You will feel like you're locked out of the cold. You will feel like you haven't done the correct work, and you're going to feel like you're kind of failed miserably. Don't let that sit in your place. All right. Learn from the lessons and move forward from them. Don't allow your misery to pull you down further if you end up experiencing this because of the result of the ebb and flow of the universe in the first half. But the wheel reminds us that everything goes around, comes around. Over encumbrance of our passions and decisions we have to make. All in all, this whole thing comes down to one basic, simplistic truth. You have the choice, and that choice sits with those pentacles that we saw in the earlier reading. So choose wisely, reflect, go into that soul sleep, build into yourself. When that change happens, embrace the change, focus on your families and your homes and your developments, and then claim that victory, move forward with it strongly, finish the month great in forward movement with your emotions and intuitions, and it'll be a great month. And that is your monthly tarot reading for the month of October 2021. Like, share, subscribe, shoot me a message, and check out the podcast on my Facebook profile. We will talk to you next time. Bye now.